Hello and welcome to Pat Baer's Anime Club, an ongoing video series where every other Monday I put up an episode taking a look at something from the world of anime that I want to chat with you about. It could be a series that I just think needs a little more attention out there on the internet, or a deep dive into a topic, or a genre or subgenre. I'll look at some new technology, bunch of different things. Maybe it's a review of the current anime season, a preview of the future season. In this case, it's my award show. Because, Crunchyroll does awards, Anime News Network does some award stuff, but it's time for your boy, Pat, to give his yearly awards to anime. Before we start, I did not include one of my favorite categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing to nominate this year for it. Best Initial D reference. That is usually an anime that is quite often not an action series or a series that involves cars in any way. It's usually just like a slice of life that has a scene that is just evocative of down mountain racing from Initial D. And we didn't have that this year. We have MF Ghost, but that's not an Initial D reference. That's the spiritual successor to Initial D. And also, I don't want to use the descriptor best for that. I'm being an asshole. Anyway, this is my 2023 Anime Awards. Let's dive into it with Best Vending Machine. I've never been able to have this category before. Sure, there's anime that have vending machine scenes in them. There are vending machines that get tossed around in a couple shows. But are they the best vending machine? No. The best vending machine in 2023 is Boxo. From the anime Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon, which is, of course, a fantastic weird isekai. It's part of the subgenre within the subgenre. The isekai subgenre has, of course, the postmodern isekai, the weird ones. They got weird with it. We got a dude that is a sentient and powerful vending machine. Boxo is great. The use of energy and sales to create new objects and to upgrade Boxo makes this character kind of lively with good thought voiceover, and the people that are able to communicate with Boxo and understand that Boxo is like a whole thing, like an entity, and not just like a magic item, but like some kind of weird soul-filled object. It's weird, it's strange, it's very fun. Boxo is a top tier character. I wouldn't necessarily call him best boy, but he's definitely best vending machine. Moving on to our next category, most obviously adapted from a light novel. This is an anime that you hear the title and you go, oh yeah, that's a light novel, huh? And the winner of that is, of course, Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon. Because it tells you everything you need to know. Okay, the main character has been isekai'd. He's a vending machine. There's dungeon stuff. So it's action series, even if it's a fun, silly action series. It's not just a like slice of life. And if you're wondering, like, how can you do 12 episodes of a vending machine as a main character? If they figure it out, they do it. There's stuff happens in this one. There are sad episodes. I'm legitimately an event about 3/4 of the way through the series, and I was like, oh, fuck. So that is high praise from your friend Pat. But more to the point, it is obviously adapted from a light novel. It is the most light novel-ass name, I think, of the year. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think it is. Don't tell me if I'm wrong about this next category, because I don't want to hear it. Yes, this is an anime. And the award for the anime that is definitely an anime, goddammit, is Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Now, there are a bunch of different vectors that I can go in on this one. I could say, well, you know that anime is just a Japanese word for animation. So anything animated is anime. Chinese animation done in China for the Chinese audience that then gets exported to the rest of the world via subtitles or dub, that's anime. Disney movies are anime. The Minions are anime. Crapopolis, the show that I definitely don't want to watch from Mark Harmon, or Dan Harmon, not Mark Harmon. I would watch a Dan Harmon cartoon, I guess. A Mark Harmon cartoon, a Dan Harmon. Dan Harmon, Crapopolis. That's an anime. I could say that. I could go into deep on that. I don't have to. Because Science Saru made it. And if the people that made Keep Your Hands Off Isaacin make an animated thing, it's an anime. I don't care if the original language that it is created for is English. I don't care if your perceived idea of who the audience is for this is an English language speaking audience. Because that is how some people say, well, it wasn't made for the Japanese television audience, so therefore it's not an anime. There's a lot of things people will say and they're wrong, and I don't want to hear from you in the comments if you don't think that this is an anime, because it fucking is. Science Saru made it. It's an anime. I don't care if the source material is not Japanese in nature. It was made by a Japanese studio. It's anime. All animation is anime. This is capital A anime. Fucking goddamn it. I hate that I have to make these rants. I enjoy that I have to make these rants. Let's be real. I wouldn't include this category if I didn't want to rant about it. I needed it to be in a video. Biggest personal surprise. That is a fun one here, right? Like, I've sometimes talked about biggest disappointment, shows that are like, oh, the source material is so good, I've read this, or I've read the manga, and it looks so cool, or, oh, this wonderful studio is putting this together, and like, oh, like, hey, there's so much buzz about, like, Undead Unluck could have been could have been in the most disappointing. But I didn't want to dwell on disappointing this year, because none of it really disappointed me. We'll get into a little bit of disappointment in the next category, actually. The closest thing. But biggest personal surprise. What's something that just hit me? That I was just like, this was not on my radar at all. I did not know that this was coming here. Oh, wow. If you've watched my streams, you know, because I was so happy to talk about this. This has been my mission to get people to watch this. If you take anything away from this video, please watch Undead Murder Farce. The novels that this is based on are called Undead Girl Murder Farce. Crunchyroll went with the title Undead Murder Farce, took the girl out of it. So, you got a guy who is slowly becoming an Oni. He is half Oni, and he will lose his senses and become a full monster eventually. You've got an immortal woman whose head was separated from her body. She's trying to find her body or die. He's trying to die. But wait, what if they work together to find her body and then she can cure him and so he doesn't have to die? Well, how would they track down the person who took the body and caused him to become this Oni that is eventually going to awake into a full Oni? Well, they're going to solve a bunch of mysteries across the world and make a name for themselves as great detectives. And they're going to run into a bunch of literary figures along the way. Like Lupin. Not Lupin the Third. His grandfather, although don't say that because copyright stuff. Lupin is in this. Sherlock Holmes is in this. Moriarty is in this. The vampire from the first recorded novella that includes vampires is in this. There is a real person from history involved in this, where they go to great lengths to make sure you understand that he is not magical. He's just a guy, and it feels like a rude thing to do. It feels like a real dick move. This anime whips ass. The fighting is great. The humor is great. It's animated beautifully. It's on Crunchyroll. Please, please watch it. It is one of my favorite shows this year. And it is the big surprise. I did not know. This was not on my radar. I saw the name. I was like, whatever. But then right before the first episode, a bunch of people that I really respect and appreciate their taste were like, this is my most anticipated show. And I was like, well, it is? Okay, I'll watch it. And I was like, yeah. If the first episode doesn't hit you because it's mostly action and it's mostly this guy and you don't know the rest of the world, I haven't really spoiled anything, but I've clued you into, yeah, maybe you just got to go through, watch episode 1 and 2. But I think you're going to get real into it. It's real good. And here's a new category this year: show I hope they actually finish. It happens, friends. One of my favorite shows of a couple of years ago, due to COVID, stopped production and they had to resume it later. Gal Dino. It happens. Sometimes anime just stops for a while and it takes a bit for it to come back. And that is, of course, a death sentence for most shows because internationally, at least in Japan, what the idea is, okay, well, we're going to postpone it. We're going to come back in a season or 2 seasons from now, and we'll start with the original episodes and run through and then add the other ones. And maybe they get a budget to promote it and be like, hey, it's back. And maybe they get some TV spots or whatever, or the stars make appearances, yada, yada, yada. But shows from an international perspective don't get that because their marketing budget already got used. They already promoted the show and it went away. But it's coming back, and maybe there'll be a note, maybe there'll be a tweet, maybe there'll be some kind of thing on the front page of a site. But like Crunchyroll's not going to run promotion, like video saying like, hey, you missed the last 3 episodes of this show. It's back. Anyway, the show I'm talking about is Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. And episode 10 will air on December 25th. So there's still time for it to get fucked up. At time of this video, episodes 10, 11, and 12 have not aired. They will air. And that's great. At the very least, watch this pilot. It's one of the best pilots of the year. You really get this wonderful sense of what this show is. I think it's a fantastic, strange comedy about being psyched about the zombie apocalypse and really living for the first time. The contrast in it, I think, is unbelievable. Sometimes it's not the best animated show of the year, but I want them to finish it. Now, part of the reason is because like it shut down was health issues with the studio. Maybe you could say it was COVID related, but they don't want to say that. But there were some problems with the studio, numerous problems in production, because despite what some people might tell you, anime doesn't air with all the episodes done. They may be scripted, they may be recorded, but generally, shows start and episodes are still being produced in the run, which is why sometimes you end up with, oh, we actually need more time with this episode. We're going to delay it a day or whatever, or the streaming will be delayed a day, or you might end up with something with like the animation in this one scene is clearly bad and the Blu-ray release won't be as bad, or reruns won't be as bad on Japanese television, or we're gonna skip a week, which Zom 100 had 2 skipped weeks. It also had a special that aired instead of an episode that didn't end up in I think actually maybe that was one of those 2 weeks, but it had lots of production issues. Supposedly more episodes coming out. I would love to finish the season because the show is really fun. I hope these last 3 episodes lots of time, and I hope the people that made it were treated well and paid well, and I hope the episodes come out great because I really like the show. And yeah, I just hope we get 3 episodes around. I hope I have a Merry Christmas watching episode 10 of that show. Okay, so my anime top 10, right? Let's get into it. Let's give out the awards for 10 through 1. Just kidding. That's the next video. You knew this was coming. I do this every time now. But I do want to tell you here in this video that is the end of the Anime Awards. But my top 10 list, a written out list, and the video that accompanies that will be out 2 weeks from this release. Let me actually look at the date because I memorized that and then didn't write it down in my notes. So this is coming out on the 4th of December. This goes live. You'll watch it on the 4th or later. You do you. And then on the 18th, that's right. Okay, yeah. So the 18th, 2 weeks from this production, this release, I should say, December 18th will be my top 10 list. In a couple years past, I've done it in January, but that was because this was tied to Giant Bomb. Giant Bomb originally had a bunch of guests do guest list. I did video game guest list and then our top 10. And I was like, hey, what if I did anime instead? And they were like, okay. But then I didn't do it last year because they didn't have guests. And then they don't do that anymore, which is fine. That's their choice. So last year I waited January to see if that was going to happen. It's not happening this year, I know for sure. So it can come out in December. That does mean that there are a couple shows that I won't be done by the time voting comes around. I think that's fine. Zom 100 can't make my list because before the video that will be out before the episodes end. Sorry, Zom 100, you're like number 11, I guess. Anyway, so come back. Leave me a comment below. Do you think there is a better anime most obviously adapted from a light novel that should have been on there? Is there a better vending machine this year? What's your biggest personal surprise? Some show that you were just like, oh, there's some buzz. I guess people like this. Oh, wow. Well, let me know. Yeah, or a show that is there another show that got canceled this year? I couldn't think of another one. Zom 100 was the obvious choice for me, but maybe you have another one that will fill in that list for you. And I'm going to end this video right now. Leave a comment. Give me some ideas. I know what my next 2 videos are going to be because it'll be my top 10 list. And then the one after that will be the fall wrap-up / winter preview. So we'll get into this 2024 anime discussion. But I want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from you about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off and if that's an anime or not. But I do want to hear from you about ideas for future videos. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of 2023, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye.